We are going live. All right, we are live. Happy Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Coffee and crypto. Welcome back. Happy hodling. Hope everyone's doing well. Obviously, everyone should be doing well looking at where Bitcoin is right now, considering where we came, because this valley, this big dip was huge. This whole capitulation into this kind of mini bear market that we had was massive. And now here we are. Bitcoin is on a tear, going back up to 61. It's been fluttering around today between 61,000. We're still high up there. We're still really close to say price discovery, being just shy by roughly what $3,500, and not even $2,500 because we're at $61,000. So we're close. We're close to going into price discovery, and then we're close to finding a new all-time high for Bitcoin wherever that's going to be. And we'll have corrections along the way. We'll go up, we'll go down, but most likely we're going to trend up from here on out. 60,000 Bitcoin, nothing to scoff at. Right now, altcoins too, and this is the big thing that I want to stress, because I've been stressing this as well with just regular Bitcoin. But with altcoins, it's the same type of thing. When we suppress something so much, it's eventually going to want to shoot up. So if you look at the Cardano chart, for example, everything's kind of winding up here. Nothing's really moving. Cardano's just moving sideways. Hey, how's it going, Joker? Or Poker. Eventually we are going to move back up to all-time highs for this and then go up to $4. So, how's everyone's weekend? There's a couple of people that might be cycling in here. But in general, altcoins are sitting down, taking a back seat for Bitcoin to do what it needs to do. Ethereum's still doing well, pumping alongside of Bitcoin, not nearly as much, but it is pumping alongside of Bitcoin. If you look at the ETH BTC, and I haven't taken a look since I made the video, so we are still kind of trading level from the bear bottom that we kind of had in this little motion. So most likely we will eventually see, once Bitcoin has calmed down a little bit, we'll eventually see Ethereum kind of go past Bitcoin. Hopefully once Bitcoin kind of cools its jets. How's it going, Natural Canadian? Right now, just the market is just so hot on everything else. DOT was great, so went heavy on DOT on $33. So I had a lot of people that actually bought DOT around there, around the 23 zone, 30 zone. If you look at where it is, and you got the parachain auctions too coming up, there are a couple of parachain auction projects that you want to keep aware of. One being Akala, I think. Yes. One being Akala is a parachain auction that will be coming up for Polkadot. Another one is Moon River, or Moonbeam, I should say. Now, Moon River, I made a video about Moon River, and I said that it could roughly get up to $400. Lo and behold, Moon River pumps to $400. The same thing's going to happen with, let me see, Moonbeam, which I believe their native token is Glimmer. But it's very important that you stay on track with all of these parachain auctions, because this is really what's going to drive a lot of movement for the Polkadot ecosystem in the coming future. So Moonbeam is one big one. If you take a look at the tokens, Moon River is already out there. It's already trading, has a price. Glimmer, which is Moonbeam, it's the Ethereum equivalent for the Polkadot blockchain. So you can imagine how much dApps it's going to have running on Glimmer. Glimmer is a utility token. It's on Moonbeam. It's a substrate code base. Works with the Polkadot system, going for their parachains. Once they do, it's gonna really do a lot in terms of price, where it's going to go for dApps. But Moon River went off without a hitch. It's on the Canary network for KSM, and it did very well. If we take a look, let me just pull up CoinGecko, and we can kind of take a look at the price chart here. Moon River, which is Mover, yes. So if we take a look at Moon River, it's at $240 right now, and we took a look at, let's say, the 90-day. Yeah, so you have your 90-day, right? Even before, I think I made the video. Yeah, okay, so roughly in this zone, I made the video. Between $90 to $130, I would have made the video. Discussed it around that time. Parachain auctions were ending around that time for KSM. And then we launched up to an all-time high of $484. This is all going to happen again. This has all happened just on the KSM network. This is all coming to Polkadot, right? All of these parachain auctions are coming to Polkadot. So it's very important that right now you kind of focus on, okay, what's coming out? What do I want to maybe lend my Polkadot to for a reward? And in that case, what's going to give the most rewards? So you have stuff like Moonriver. You have stuff like, I believe Kylan might be coming up for the parachain auction. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I believe it might be, which is like the Chainlink equivalent for the Polkadot network. So there's a lot of tokens to be aware of. And of course, with anything else, there's a lot of dog shit, right? You just really got to be careful. But for the most part, there's a lot of good gems, right? When we're talking about Akala being a DeFi platform, and if we take a look at Karora just now, you can actually see the platform out, like everything's working right now. We have our our ratios. I'm not allocating anything in here specifically, but absolutely you could. I think, let me see here. Liquid staking. So you can see here where the APRs are. So if you just stake KSM, you're getting a 16% increase. 16% on that. How's it going, Mikey? Not too much, man. Just focusing on the altcoins, seeing when they're going to pump after Bitcoin, I think is the biggest thing. But obviously, everyone's happy this weekend because Bitcoin is on the tear. But KSM, so in Akala, getting the 16% APR just to stake. But where are the liquidity pools? So in Earn, you have your liquidity pool staking. So if you don't know what liquidity pools are, it's taking two assets, putting them together, putting them in a pool that people trade with on an AMM, automated market maker, like a DEX, like Karora. So the reason why I'm showing you this is because Karora went through the parachain auctions. And if we look at their token, Karora, do they have a token? What is the native token? I thought it was like KR something. I don't know why any of this is... Oh, maybe it's not loading because I don't have my wallet. There we go. There we go. KAR. That's the ticker. KAR. So Karora's token is roughly trading at around $8. And if we take a look, so it's been on a decline, which is very similar to what most chains do after a launch. So we can see the initial pump above $12 and now sinking down to roughly $8.50. Still a good price from where it launched at $3.99, give or take, $3.30. So still a good price. I don't know why this keeps... There we go. Yes. So you can see here, if you're staking something like KUSD, which is a USD stablecoin for KSM, and KSM, you can earn CAR, so the Karora token, and USD. You earn that as 74% APR. There's also other pairs like KSM and LKSM. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I assume it's some sort of pairing token to swap and use the system. They don't have a lot of token pairs right now. So right now you're basically restricted to CAR, KSM, and everything else. But the reason why I want to show you this is just to keep this in your mind, because Akala is coming out for their parachain auction as well. And when Akala comes out for the parachain auction, it most likely is going to do similar moves, so you can get in and kind of ride the increase and see where it goes. And it's also going to have a lot more infrastructure to it because it's Polkadot, it's not KSM. A lot more people are have bought Polkadot instead of KSM, which really, I like both tokens. I don't think it's hard to say which one I would prefer better. If I had to choose Polkadot or KSM, I'd obviously buy Polkadot. But absolutely, I mean, KSM is a fantastic blockchain, and it's a lot more Wild West than, say, Polkadot. Roughly sitting at $340 right now. There's a 10 million total supply. which is not a lot of tokens to actually go out. So obviously the price is going to increase because the token supply is lower. Now that doesn't mean that higher price of the token means it's more valuable. Just means that there's less tokens relative to the general market cap. But you can see the market cap is only at $3 billion compared to where the rest of the market is, and compared to how much money could go into KSM, could do very well. Yeah, Akala, Moonbeam, and just keep an eye on Kylan. What everyone should think of doing is getting something called get your Polkadot JS wallet set up. So there's this website here, polkadot.js.org. And this is where you stake your DOT. This is where you stake your KSM. This is where you get your rewards for PolkaSwap. If you look at KSM and go to Kusama, and switch to Kusama, and I know maybe the first time seeing this is a little bit kind of hard to navigate, but you get used to it. When you go there, you can see the past parachain auctions. You're going to see a similar set. So you go to network and then parachains, and then we have all our lists of the auctions that went off. So Karora is one, Moon River is another. So you're going to see a similar auction on Polkadot. So just keep that in mind, get this set up, and be ready for that. You talked about the whale that sold 56K and bought back at 57. You wondered what the whale. Yeah, so I guess so, right? And that's the thing. The whale must have saw something in the chart when they sold, right? So when they sold Bitcoin at, what was it, like 56K, and then bought it, 56K, and bought it back at 57K. The whale knew. Right? The whale knew exactly what was about to happen. They knew that the price was going to go up. I don't know what indicator they saw that made them so decisively say, I'm going to lose a couple $1 million, because that's what the trade was. I'm going to lose a couple $1 million in this trade because of this. And of course, now he's in the positive. So maybe he lost, I don't know. I'm just going to say a number. It's not at all correct. Maybe he lost like $30 million. Well, he's up most likely like 90 million right now. $3,000 more than what he bought back at. So really, what was it? What was it specifically that he saw that triggered him? Now, there are a couple of other things that are going on. El Salvador is an interesting thing. El Salvador... okay, so El Salvador has been in a very weird spot with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. El Salvador has been protesting the buying of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin being legal tender. And I assume a lot of this is because of the mass poverty in the country, the overall just lack of well-being for the citizens in general, in terms of wealth, finances, food. Just general insecurity among the population in Singapore. So they were worried, and they were vocalizing their discontent for the president to kind of fund so much infrastructure for Bitcoin when people are starving and when people are not doing well economically, and how he can justify that. And of course, these protests were happening at kind of the depths of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going down to like the 30K range. It was really kind of scary and down. The president, it seemed like every week he was tweeting, we're buying the dip. Salvador's buying the dip. And sure enough, they did. They bought the dip. They bought the dip at like 47K. They bought the dip at 30K. They bought the dip at whatever price. Now they're doing pretty well. But now El Salvadorians, like citizens, are buying more Bitcoin with USD than ever before. So obviously now they have a lot of the ATMs. They're calling them the Shivo ATMs after the president. So they have a bunch of Bitcoin ATMs now in the country. And a lot more people are looking to get into USD. What could be driving this? Could this be the price of Bitcoin going up? I suspect yes. People like to buy high and sell low. Typically, especially like newer investors, when you first get in, you have this incredible FOMO of like, I got to get in now or else I'm never going to get in ever again. So I might as well get in at the tippy top. And I've had people that said that They've made like big moves financially to go into cryptocurrency at all-time highs. You just got to be careful. But obviously, this is bullish. This is bullish for El Salvador. This is bullish for Bitcoin. This is bullish for the future of where everything's going to go. Especially that we had this kind of contentious thing go on with the protesters in El Salvador. So not everyone's going to like Bitcoin. That's for sure. But I think now Bitcoin has kind of proved itself at this price. And I also don't think that we're going to see a low Bitcoin in the near future. I don't like to speak in absolutes and say we're not going to see a Bitcoin under 30K or under 40K ever again. But the likelihood is growing less and less and less that we will actually ever see Bitcoin that low again. Because we can see how much power we have at this point. Wasn't a lot of the protests basically funded by the opposition party? I mean, probably. I don't actually know. I'd be interested to read some articles about that. I would suspect yes, a lot of stuff could be politically motivated. But I also suspect that I mean, El Salvadorian people were probably just upset and didn't understand Bitcoin. It's easy to mobilize people when they're afraid of something. It's very easy to mobilize out of fear. Which is why we are in the state that we were in 2021, being essentially mobilized in fear in multiple different ways. But I fully believe that an opposition party could have had an impact to that. I think Moonbeam price will go much higher than the Akala launch. Thoughts? I would probably agree. I'm way more bullish on, say, Moonbeam than Akala personally, but that's because I'm heavily invested in PokeSwap. So PokeSwap's my DeFi area that I like to go to. Akala is going to be great too. Akala is going to have way more token pairs, and I'm absolutely going to allocate some DOT into Akala once it's out. But most likely the bulk of whatever I lend is going to go into Moonbeam. You can see Moon River here on the Parachain auctions. So most likely Moonbeam is going to be my focus. How's it going, Vapor? Regardless, Bitcoin will always be will always make it way higher than so I completely agree with you. Regardless, if you hold over the course of 5 years, or if you hold over the course of even a year, doesn't even matter, or if you hold after Bitcoin hits the 50-week moving average, or like any other of these metrics, if you hold Bitcoin, it's always going to trend up over time. It's just like any other asset, and it's easy to say stocks only go up. It's kind of true. I would change that statement to, instead of stocks always go up, that stocks always trend up. Whereas they don't always go up. You can get some massive wicked dips to the downside, but we'll likely just trend up over time. So if you hold on to something, as long as it's a good asset, and not a junk asset, you should be fine. By a junk asset, I mean like you're buying into, say, a Ponzi scheme, or buying into a stock of a failing company, for example, stuff like that, right? So, but generally prices are going to trend up, especially for stuff like currencies like Bitcoin that are deflationary in a way. Well, it's not, I guess it's not deflationary, it's scarce, is what I meant to say. Where at some point there will no longer be more Bitcoin coming into existence. After 2100, that's it. No more Bitcoin to be mined. So at that point, 21 million is a cap. So we have 21 million Bitcoin out there in existence. Maybe, I don't know what the actual number is. I'm sure someone has it. Maybe the number is, say, like 2 to 4 million Bitcoin is missing. That's Bitcoin in dumps, Bitcoin on hold hard drives. And there's a lot of it because there was a lot of early mining back then. And a lot of people didn't give a shit about the little Bitcoin that they had. Where they thought it was a little bit Bitcoin, but some of it was like a couple hundred Bitcoin, a couple thousand Bitcoin in some cases. There are hard drives, I'm sure, that can no longer be accessed that had thousands of Bitcoin on them, millions of dollars just kind of locked up. So it's interesting to think, when you think about that, when you think about the circulating supply out there, it really looks like one of the hardest assets that you could possibly have, even harder than gold. And I get shit for talking about this, and I get for shit for saying this. I get it. I understand why people don't like when I say this. Let's see, gold per ounce. So why would Bitcoin be harder than gold? The reason why I think it's harder than gold is because gold is actually very abundant in the universe, and maybe not on Earth. I mean, it is on Earth, but it's not easily accessible. So the reason why gold has value is because we spend money, we spend energy to process it and extract it from the ground. So it has value. Plus, it's a cool looking rock. I know that sounds very stupid, but it has intrinsic value because of that statement. Just because it's a nice shiny rock, because it's pleasant to look at, it has intrinsic value. So we extract it from the ground, has value from that, and it has intrinsic value. Now, also, you can't recreate gold. So there is no there's counterfeiting gold, but you can't just print more gold into existence. So gold is just whatever inflation from the ground that we get is how much gold is in circulation. Now, gold comes from a supernova. We can't recreate a supernova, and we can't be close to a supernova. So we just have to get gold from the universe on asteroids, on the moon, on Earth, and whatever. I fully believe that once we get into mining the near area, in terms of mining the moon, which Elon Musk and a bunch of other billionaires are talking about being the next frontier, we will eventually get to the point of mining asteroids. China's already landing probes on asteroids. We'll eventually get to that point. And we'll eventually get to the point of isolating which asteroids have the metals that we need, the gases that we need, or the liquids that we need, and go in and extract it from those asteroids. So I do kind of think that it is harder in a way, because Bitcoin, you can't do that. You can't just go out into space and mine more Bitcoin. Once all the Bitcoin is mined, that's it. It's done. So there is an argument to be had that Bitcoin could actually be a more solid asset than gold, but it's out there and it's hard to kind of comprehend. So I understand that I'm on the other side of things when people are like, what are you talking about? But that being said, I'm still a huge gold bug. It's hard knowing what to do watching YouTubers advocating for selling in December. I don't want to write it down. I'm afraid of... Yeah, so that's a big thing. And the thing that you should keep in mind, and one of my big things, actually, let's take a look at my Bitcoin regression bands. So if we look at something like the regression band, now I'm not telling you to sell, okay? This is not an argument for you to sell. I'm holding. I will be very vocal when I start selling. And it's probably going to be soon for Bitcoin. As soon as Bitcoin reaches like 70, 80K-ish, that zone, I'll be taking little bits. How I do it is I dollar cost average out, just like a dollar cost average in, just by like a percent or two every couple of days, make a sale, put it in fiat or gold, and go from there. Do you do this most Saturday, like every Saturday? Like most Saturdays, I think I missed like one Saturday 2 weeks ago. But most Saturdays, coffee and crypto. We're here and we're talking about cryptocurrency. Absolutely. Yeah, I think I've only caught you in a couple of live streams. But okay, so if we look at our regression bands, top of the regression band is borderline where you should start taking a little bit of profits. So yes, we're in that zone. You can take profits. And I totally think that people should take profits to better their financial future, especially if you have a life-changing amount of wealth in cryptocurrency. Now, if you have a little bit of cryptocurrency, maybe it's better to ride it. If you have low risk, okay, maybe, you know what, I don't need to pull it all out, but maybe I'm going to take a couple thousand, keep it on the side, wait for a dip, buy into another project. So it is important to take profits, and you should absolutely take profits, but I wouldn't go and sell everything. There's a lot of people like Alex Becker and a couple other people that were just selling everything, and just like being done and just getting out of cryptocurrency for a little bit. Obviously they came right back in, but to kind of have that in perspective and think, okay, like when do I actually sell? It's really based on, one, your own price metrics. Where do you think Bitcoin's going to go? Two, how much do you need to sell, right? How much Bitcoin do you want to hold for the long term? And that might not go for all your altcoins. So say you have an altcoin that you're not bullish on, but you have Bitcoin, and you're like, okay, well, I can sell this altcoin and make a hell of a lot more. What's your percentage gain on Bitcoin? I think right now I'm at 320%, I would say, up on Bitcoin. Of course, I was buying Bitcoin back in the March dip and early 2020. I obviously had a lot of opportunity at this accumulation part of the regression bands, being down here, which is really where you get rich. This is really where like you start earning a crazy amount. I wasn't putting like a nutso amount of Bitcoin in, or money into Bitcoin. I maybe was putting a couple $100 kind of thing here and there, whatever, on my paychecks. Then I started really looking into cryptocurrency around this time, and that's when I started like beans and rice, eating absolutely nothing, throwing everything into cryptocurrency, thinking I was crazy, thinking I was legitimately off my rocker. Like, what the ever living shit am I actually doing here, buying Bitcoin, and it's trading at $9,000, and I'm down like a couple $1,000. This is useless. Like, what am I actually doing? And I had to really like keep focused and be like, listen, it's gonna go up. Mathematics are on your side. We're going to make it. And of course, here we are. I have no worries now. If Bitcoin drops to 30K, it really doesn't phase me because I bought down here. So any way I look at it, I'm in the green. Any way I look at it. So yes, I could take profits right now, but there's a lot of stuff that I want to hold on to. So it's definitely hard to navigate when a lot of people are screaming sell, sell, sell. And you could absolutely dynamically DCA out, just like you would dynamically DCA in. I'd probably say down here in the green band is the accumulation zone, right? Exactly where we should accumulate. And the red zone is probably the zone to start looking at taking profits. And again, I'm not specifically taking profits just yet. I'm just kind of representing that. So there's nothing wrong with taking some profits, but I would never take everything off the table. So hopefully that makes sense, because a lot of people are so absolute when they talk about taking profits, and they talk about, okay, like I'm just going to sell everything, get into fiat currency, and that's it. What I will do is dollar cost average. I'm not even going to dollar cost average into fiat currency. I'm probably going to dollar cost average into gold. Because if you look at gold right now, gold is heading on a huge fractal. Gold is going to go on a massive bull run. Like it's gonna melt faces, especially in this economy, in this time of day. We have supply chain issues, we have economic issues, we have destabilization in many first world governments that we never thought we'd see destabilization before. That's Canada, that's the United States, that's England. You get my point here. There's a lot of destabilization happening with really robust countries, and then you see a lot of countries with a more, in my opinion, a negative impact, being like China or Russia, really kind of doing well right now. So we gotta really step up our game and look at all of that. But this is definitely the folly of fiat currencies. Gold went up a lot for so long until years after the ETFs. I think futures and ETFs will eventually be used to suppress and manipulate the price of Bitcoin. I mean, you're probably right. Right now, it is being used. Well, I don't think ETFs are being used to manipulate, because there's not a lot of them. But I definitely think that there was a lot of manipulation with futures. There is a lot of manipulation with futures in Bitcoin, and that's probably going to continue. So. Yeah, I agree. Strike app has a direct deposit, easy DCA. That's cool. Is that I've never seen that, but I don't know if that's states or whatnot. I'm unfortunately Canadian, so Stripe. I don't know if Stripe allows us Canadians to also. I'll look into that, because if they do, that'd be really cool. I know for Canadians, we use ShakePay, which kind of does the same thing. We just need to buy the cryptocurrency itself. But for the most part, it's it's good to DCA, one, to get in, and also to get out. So that's the big thing that I want to get across, because a lot of people are just like, oh, I'm just going to shake my ShakePay. They're just like, oh, I just want to sell all of it. and get out. Actually, when I talked to a friend, so a friend asked me about cryptocurrency, was asking me, hey, can you talk me through all the Bitcoin stuff and everything? And I talked to them, and I was having the conversation why it's going to go up, why we're going to see, say, a $300,000 Bitcoin in the future and everything else. And then they're like, okay, I want to put 20 grand in. That's all the money I have. And it's just like why do we have to take that route, right? Like, why do you have to get to the point where you put in $20,000? That's all your savings in the world. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know if Bitcoin's going to go down. So it's a big thing. Bought another bag of sand. Nice. Let's see here. I don't know if I'm sure I looked it up, but I tend to forget tokens. There's just so many, and I'm in so many projects. The sandbox, right? We talked about this, the sandbox, and it hasn't done any good movements. So it's probably in a good accumulation phase for the token. Token sitting at 3 billion supply. This is obviously like the blockchain. It's like a Minecraft type game, Minecraft-esque game. I haven't actually played it, but I mean, like, I'm bullish on things like this. If you look at like how some of these platforms really did well, and we have like things like Decentraland, we have the horse racing, a bunch of other things for NFTs and crypto gaming. We're really edging into this, but this is going to be the new future. Now, I'm not saying this game specifically, but blockchain gaming is going to be huge, and especially with this. Doesn't day say LOL plan B doesn't day say so doesn't say I see in terms of what? Sorry, I said a lot there. Plan B has a lot to say. Now, here's the problem with I hate this. I hate saying this. Here's the problem with someone like Plan B, okay? Plan B speaks in so absolutes that stock to flow is the end all be all, right? End all be all stock to flow. And as well as stock to flow is, like, stock to flow is an amazing model. It has value. It gives us a kind of good idea of what's going to happen. But we can't talk in absolutes here. Nothing can talk in absolutes. This market is like less than 10 years old. We're talking about a very, very, very new market. Of course, we're going to get to that 100K Bitcoin, but they were calling, the stock to flow people were calling for that 100K Bitcoin by the end of September. And we're not there yet. So, Snoop Dogg is recreating his mansion in Sandbox. That's amazing. Just brings more eyes to it. Yeah, completely. A lot of celebrities driving it. You just gotta be careful that you're following like Snoop Dogg, not Soulja Boy. I trust Snoop Dogg a hell of a lot more, but that's mainly because I shop at Tweed. So there's that. But and we do see Bitcoin actually passing 61,000. We actually saw it, I think, last night. It hit close to 62, I want to say. Yeah, no, we definitely got up there. Almost to 63 about, if you look at it. So last night, we hit to 62,860, which really, if you look at the wicks from the top here to the bottom here, that's 3%. It's that 3% the other way, though. So about 3%. About 3% off from all-time high last night. So maybe I'm a little bit too bullish in saying this, but I do think we're gonna hit that this weekend. Plan B says if certain things happen, it will invalidate stock to flow model. I have actually never heard him say that, but I would see that as true. Now, I think the problem with stock to flow is heavily based on the halvenings, right? And as well as that is, the problem with basing everything on the halvenings is eventually the halvenings are going to end. Eventually, we have no halvenings. And at that point, what's going to happen for Bitcoin? what's it going to follow? Now, I would suggest that most likely Bitcoin's going to just be on its own market cycle, something similar to what gold is on. Maybe not correlated with gold in any way, shape, or form, but it's going to just move with the economic times of humanity. These are what markets are. They're all emotional. It's humans buying and selling these assets. That's why everything fluctuates so randomly, because humans are random. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Humans are not random. Humans are very predictable. But at the same time, humans can capitulate for no reason at all, and then humans can buy for no reason at all. So again, I it's hard to speak in absolutes, but I definitely think that as valuable as looking at the halving as a metric is and everything else, eventually Bitcoin's just going to mature to the fact that it's not correlated to anything and just driving on its own merit kind of thing. But that being said, I mean, again, stock to flow has value. I think there's a lot that will be represented in stock to flow. But being capped out at about that $100,000 Bitcoin until next year, where we see another bull market to an over $1 million Bitcoin, I don't know. I think we could possibly see a higher Bitcoin. I think we could possibly see that $300,000 Bitcoin, but I don't think it's going to peak in this year. And most likely, I would speculate that will peak sometime in 2022. Could be early 2022, could be mid 2022. It could even be late 2022, but that's just my personal opinion on that. Obviously, we are going to see who's right and who's wrong in the next coming months. We could absolutely see a peak, and we could see a drop. And if there is a peak, we just got to look at the volatility of what's happening and make sure that we take a little bit of profits. I do like Engine. Engine is probably one of the better gaming tokens out there. Well, I shouldn't say better. It's the more established gaming tokens. And it's not at a bad price, and it did pump pretty hard earlier on in the market. So we see that pump when the market kind of kicked off in December, February. It went from like 50 cents all the way up to $2, $3 in some cases. Now we're just kind of trading. I'd probably say we're in a heavy accumulation phase. You're probably not getting the best deal that you could get for Engine, but it's obviously going to go up, right? We're so far away from the all-time high. We're most likely going to see another all-time high be recaptured for Engine. But I think there's a lot to be said for NFT tokens, for gaming tokens, and everything else. There's a big market in that. That's why Solana is so big. That's why Matic is so big. That's why Ethereum got as big as it is, because everyone loves NFTs and all this other stuff. Decentraland is a pretty big one. I don't know if they've actually done much in the last little while. There's just a lot. There's a lot of tokens to be aware of, and especially the thing about the gaming tokens. It's such a new area, and the thing about games itself, if you're a gamer at all, the problem with finding a game that is going to do well is you really don't know which games are going to do well. You look at say New Worlds just came out for the Amazon game. You don't know if it's going to be a good game or not. You just don't know whether or not it's going to take. So there's a lot of competition. There's definitely a lot more gaming tokens coming out. Harmony One is also a really good token that has gone through a bit of an increase over a little while. Not as dramatic as some, but definitely a good token to accumulate because it's doing really cool things. It's one of the fastest settlement times. I don't think I think HBAR might be better, but Harmony One is definitely a token to watch in the coming future. I hold a little bag of Harmony One, not a huge bag. So there's that. A lot of Dogecoin bulls for some reason. I was looking at my news aggregate, trying to pull up some news for today, and it's all Dogecoin. One is SHIB, which Vapor, you like the SHIB, $260 billion SHIB whale moved some funds. But there's a lot of Dogecoin, like right here, Dogecoin primed for a 500 to 1,000% multi-rally. Now, the interesting thing with Dogecoin, the meme with Dogecoin, right? The funny part. Here's the funny part about Dogecoin. You see that Dogecoin symbol, that little Shiba Inu. The funny part about Dogecoin, it's actually a harder asset than the USD. Dogecoin is no meme, a harder asset than the United States dollar. Let me explain why that is. If we take a look at Dogecoin, now I'm not a Dogecoin bull. I paid $100 for a bunch of Dogecoin back a little bit ago. It is what it is. It hasn't made me all that much money, but I mean, like I'm holding for the long term because it's Dogecoin and I want a little bit of a meme. The bulk of my portfolio is hard assets, good assets. But if we look at the circulating supply, 131, is that billion or trillion? That is billion. So 131 billion circulating tokens out for Dogecoin, okay? Is that right? Because I could have swore I read an article today that Elon Musk holds like 800 billion. Circulating supply. I thought we were in the trillions of Doge. Okay, no. So 131 billion. Okay, so I'm incorrect. So 131 billion tokens, right? So you might be thinking, okay, why would Dogecoin be a harder asset than the USD? What is the circulating supply of the United States dollar? Can anyone tell me that? Yeah, the answer is you can't. The answer is you can't. And the reason why you can't is because the Federal Reserve is no longer showing M2 reports to you. So you don't know how much they're printing for United States dollar. And the circulating supply is in the trillions. There are trillions of USD notes. So I'd be a little cautious when you're looking at something like the USD. And that's why I don't shit on people that buy Dogecoin. I try not to shit on people that buy Dogecoin, mainly because, and I'm guilty sometimes, mainly because it is actually a harder asset than the United States dollar, and it has functionality, and it could potentially be more useful than the USD. What does that say about the Dogecoin? Doesn't say much about Dogecoin. Says a hell of a lot about the United States dollar. So just keep that in mind. Meme coins trend to follow big Bitcoin pumps, so Dogecoin will probably go up, but this market cap is so high. Yeah, I agree, but like when a flood happens, all boats go up, right? So that's the big thing to kind of keep in mind is when, say, the total cryptocurrency market cap goes up to $10 trillion, of course some money is going to flow into Dogecoin. It's unavoidable. Now, what I would tell people that are buying Dogecoin is, are there better things to put your money into, less riskier things that could give you a better return? And the answer might be yes. But the answer for some people might be Dogecoin is too risky not to hold. And for that, shalom. Enjoy your Dogecoin, I guess. I'm not dollar cost averaging in Dogecoin anytime soon, but whatever makes you happy. Funny Andre Jank video the other day with Pro the Doge, Pro dissing Sheeb by describing exactly like Doge. So the thing about Sheeb is actually doing things. Sheeb is actually doing DeFi. Sheeb is trying to get away from the meme mentality and do things. Now I'm not bullish on Sheeb, even though Vapor I know you are, buddy. I'm not super bullish on Sheeb like long term compared to some other tokens. But what it's doing is good. The problem with Jank, when he got into cryptocurrency, so I got into cryptocurrency in 2020. I started making videos after, like in December. I'm coming up to a year. I'm actually not Jewish. I'm Lebanese. I just like saying shalom. Gets a nice laugh from people. It's in no way a dig. I have plenty of Jewish friends. Yeah, it's just something that I've said, for so long. So when you look at things like Sheeb, compared to, Jank. So what Andre Jank was talking about. So when I got into cryptocurrency, I was, I started my videos in December around that time. went through. Now, the thing with Andre is he came out with this video discussing the top 10 cryptocurrencies to hold. And on his list was like Bitcoin Cash and like all this other junk, this absolute crap. And he clearly had no idea what he was talking about, had no idea about anything. It was his first crypto video ever. And it was useless. But the thing about it is he has such a big following that everyone just believes him to be true. So when he shit on XRP, for example, the amount of people that just rode that train, I guess is proper grammar, rode that train for like XRP is a shitcoin, was astounding. And I mean, like, there are always going to be people that say XRP is a shitcoin. I accept it now. I actually don't make XRP videos, mainly because I know it's not the most well-liked token in the community, but I also hold 39% of my portfolio in it. Call me crazy, whatever. In terms of finding a legislatively compliant token that is going to onboard the legacy financial system, XRP is it. And XRP is the horse that I'm betting on. So a bulk of my crypto is in XRP. After that, it goes Bitcoin, and after that, it goes Cardano, then Ethereum, then Polkadot, and a slew into other tokens. So I'd say I have a good representation of risk to reward. So if XRP, if I'm wrong, I'm still going to be okay. Like, I may have a bruised ego for a little bit and lose a little bit of money, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to be broke, right? So I'm still going to have my backup assets, but I'm pretty confident on something like XRP. So when somebody just comes out and like basically slanders it without actually knowing what the token is, knowing the fundamentals of the SEC case and what the SEC is doing, when they just look at it from an outside perspective, it's easy to hate on a token like that. So when somebody is coming like Andre and he attacks a token without knowing fully about that token, it really, really hurts that token. But like a lot of people just don't look at it as, oh, maybe I shouldn't listen to him for advice. A lot of people take words like that with gospel. So, yeah. So, and that's an interesting thing too. Why? So one thing that I never got. This is something that I grappled with and struggled with. Is why do people buy stock like Ford? Like, why? Just, can you actually, like, please somebody, like, actually, if you know why, I would actually like this to explain to me, because I don't understand it. Stock. If you look at like Ford, right? Why would you buy Ford? Why in good God would you buy Ford, right? If you look at the growth of the company, it hasn't done anything for the past, what, like 10 years, basically just like done nothing, zero growth for the company. Sure, maybe they're making cars, maybe their cars are going good, but like at the same time, like look at Volvo, right? If you look at Volvo, Volvo is a much more appealing stock, right? Something that I'd like more want. Yeah, no, a lot higher. You're actually getting an increase here, right? You're not seeing back 2001 highs, right? So back 2001 is all the way down here. So that's growth. This is a chart that I could get behind. Ford, I can't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. I understand some people buying dividend stocks, get get the passive income with dividends and everything else. I kind of understand that, but the problem is what happens when that company goes belly up? What happens when that company can't pay the dividend that they're saying that they can? What happens when that company is consistently not hitting earnings reports, right? Like for Tesla, for example, I'm a bull on Tesla and EV cars and Volvo, and I think Elon Musk is a very smart individual. At the same time, it's a company that hasn't made profits, right? Crazy that the stock is that much. But I think Tesla is a tech company. It's not a car company. It can't be lumped into the same. Fell for a bunch of XRP FUD when first getting into crypto. Missed out on buying cheap. Lesson learned. It's hard, right? It's so hard. It's so difficult when you hear everyone from the peanut gallery just saying it's a shitcoin. It's a shitcoin. Look at the SEC. They're going after it. It's a garbage token. Don't buy it. It's useless. Who's going to buy XRP once it goes up? Like, how do you expect it to go up? The banks aren't going to buy it. Who wants a banker coin, or it's a banker coin? There's so many other like highlight, clips here. But if you actually look into the fundamentals, where the Federal Reserve just approved a specific payment type, I can't remember the payment type. It's some series of letters and numbers. They just approved this payment type, and the only cryptocurrency that is legislatively compliant with that payment type is XRP. We're at the point now in the case where we know we don't know anything, but where we can ascertain that the judge is favoring more Ripple's stance. The only people that I thought was in any way in danger with the XRP SEC lawsuit was Chris Larson and Brad Garlinghouse. Other than that, Ripple has done nothing wrong. They've done absolutely nothing. They sold some XRP in seed funding rounds. That XRP could be deemed as security purchases, and they could be fined for those sales back in 2004. Or later, I think 2011, whatever year they did those sales. So back at those sales, they could be fined for those sales. But we're talking about the whole of XRP. And then a lot of people say, well, Ripple prints new XRP every week or every month. And yes, they release XRP out of an escrow every month. Now, the thing that people neglect to say is Ripple sends out a report saying exactly what's happening with that XRP, which corridors it's going to, and most likely, if it doesn't go into a corridor, which is 9 times out of 10 what happens, it doesn't go into a corridor, it goes and tacks on to the end of the escrow. So the escrow keeps going until finally the escrow is just out of XRP. All this XRP was minted at inception. This isn't a bearish thing. This is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with this, and the fact that it's an escrow should alleviate people's concerns about Ripple having all this XRP, because it's not accessible outside of the escrow terms, right? So, but hey, I mean, like, if you want to hate on the coin, okay? So it is what it is. But there's a lot of FUD out there, and there's a lot of shit. And a lot of people want to talk some shit about coins that they don't fully understand. I'm guilty of that. I'm very guilty of that myself. I shit on a lot of tokens, and maybe I don't have full understanding of some of the tokens. Maybe one being SafeMoon, I still think it might be a Ponzi. But like, hey, I guess it is what it is. But when you look at something like XRP, I mean, like, it has value, and especially in what it's doing for the banking infrastructure. So there's a lot that can happen with XRP. But what I would do, my general investment strategy is typically to just research and invest and take other people's opinion, weigh it in, because some of it is valuable. But things like there are YouTubers that I really like Coin Bureau. We all know Coin Bureau, right? He's fantastic. He does great research, great videos. I really like his stuff. But he's a huge XRP bear. He might have changed his stance with some of his recent Ripple case coverage, but he's a huge XRP bear. That doesn't mean that I don't listen to him or I don't watch him. You just have to judge what people say. You have to look into what people say, understand their biases and where they're coming from, and does it adequately integrate with your perception of what's going on. And if you trust something a little bit more, go with your gut. So I would much rather your losses be on, I want to say I would much rather my losses be on me than on somebody else, and I'd much rather not miss out on something because somebody else fudded me out of a token. Do you think Link is good to accumulate? So the interesting thing about Link is Link didn't pump until later, right? Until after the market pumped. I think it pumped in 2018, if I'm right. We had that big DeFi boom too in 2020. Let's see. Okay. So it was a much later. So we had the 2017. Link did nothing, absolutely nothing. And then we had this DeFi boom. Hold on, where is it? I'm looking at 2021. That's not what I want. So we had this DeFi boom in 2019, and then 2020. so 2020 was the big one. Where it's like Uniswap was coming out. This was when the Uni tokens got distributed to everyone, and everyone got a bunch of Uni tokens. So I would speculate we're going to see a similar thing here, right? Where you see we have this kind of pump up here and then a drawn out accumulation. And if we look at Max again, bear with me here. I got to switch back and forth just to get it. If we look at Max and you look at it, it goes through the same type of motion where we have that pump up and then a drawn out accumulation. Now I'd speculate that we are going to have a extended accumulation even if the whole crypto market is going. So even if crypto is pumping really hard, I think Chainlink is just going to sit and do what Chainlink is going to do. And then eventually it's going to pump, and it's going to pump outside of other cryptocurrencies. So I think, I personally think that that's where Chainlink's going to go, or at least some sort of iteration of that. The thing about TA, technical analysis, is it's looking at prior moves on a price chart and determining how likely that move is to happen in the future, or using that to understand, a representation of what the future could look like. Nothing is absolute. Nothing is absolute. So Chainlink could absolutely pump with every other token. But I'd say it's a decent accumulation. No, I was way more bullish on, say, like Polkadot and everything else at the time when Polkadot was like down to $23. I was scooping that up compared to, say, something like Chainlink. But it wouldn't be a bad idea if you're, say, taking profits from Bitcoin and move it into something like Chainlink. It wouldn't be a bad idea. But the market cap is also pretty high. Like if you look at where Chainlink is, ranked 16 on a $13 billion market cap. So it's not massive, but it's high. And we do know that they are doing some things. They have a partnership with Cardano that should kickstart a lot of stuff that's happening with Cardano. So I definitely think that there's potential for Chainlink to go up. When it's going to go up, I think, is the question. So I think more or less it's probably going to pump after all the other cryptocurrencies have kind of done their thing. I agree, man. Sodium, no single person has all the answers in cryptocurrency. A lot of people act like they have the answers. A lot of people do, but you don't. Nobody does. Nobody actually knows what's about to happen. I think this is fascinating, to be honest. In a lot of ways, like, sure, I'm like anyone. I'm in it for money, right? I'm in it to better my financial situation. I'm in it to better my life, invest in my future, all of that fun stuff. But there's also the gravity of technology like this, and thinking about how fundamentally the internet changed humanity, good or bad, right? There are a lot of fucked up things that came from the internet, a lot of misinformation out there and everything else, a lot of hate being spread on the internet. But at the same time, look at how different our lives are. We have information at our fingertips. We have computing power more than spaceships, more than rocket ships. We can answer any question we want just simply by picking up our phone. The amount that technology has changed humanity from 10 years ago, and even me, I grew up in the transition, right? So I was a teenager back when, I think I was 17 when iPhones came out. So I was a teenager when all this technology was coming through, and it changed. Fundamentally, it changed everything. It changed everything about how we think of the world, how we think of social media, how we think of communication, how we think of world events and everything else. And everything is so publicized now. We take a look at all this other social media stuff that's coming out, like cases in the States that are widespread and shown everywhere. Like everyone has their phone to record everything. Everything's just changed huge. So if you look at that compared to the cryptocurrency, where cryptocurrency is going to go, it's equivalent to the internet but for finances. It is on that level. So the dramatic ripples that cryptocurrency is going to create over the next 10, 20, 30 years for humanity is going to be intense. And it's interesting to see where it's going to go. And I think anyone in it now is going to do very well holding for the long term. Market cap is relative. Things after 5 billion seem high in the current state. Exactly, right? They seem high in the current state, but when things are going up, so when the market cap is upwards to say $10 trillion for the total crypto market cap, all the other coins are going to go up. And if you look at it, if you actually look at it, $5 billion. I'm gonna say this, and I always love saying this. $5 billion is not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money, not at all. Very very small, inconsequential amount of money. To you or me, it's a life changing amount. Absolutely, but for say governance or anything else, it's not. Market cap representations. I don't know if anyone's seen this. There's an infographic, a visualization of market capitalizations. Yes, I have it. Okay, so these are market caps. Now this is out of date. Keep in mind. We're talking about silver market cap being roughly $43.9 billion, cryptocurrency $244 billion. Obviously, we know that that's way more now, being at $2.6 trillion. But this is just to like keep in scope of everything. The military budget as of 2020 was $3.8 trillion for the U.S., right? Sorry, that's the U.S. Budget deficit. The spending doesn't actually say. Okay, so U.S. Deficit is 3.8 trillion. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So coins and banknotes. So in coins and banknotes for U.S., Euro, other, China, and Japan, $6.6 trillion. The Fed's balance sheet. So these are all the assets that are in the Federal Reserve, and they just added a bunch in 2020 because of COVID. Seemed a little quick on there, eh? This, if you're wondering why that number is January 1st and COVID happened basically in March, hold on, let me think. Yeah. So it happened in March. If you're wondering why they were buying this so early, that's because the repo market crashed and they were buying up assets just to keep that alive, and that's still kind of in the same kind of territory. If you look at the billionaires, $8 trillion. So each block is, I believe, a couple million, whatever. So the blocks are representations of how much. The nitty gritty doesn't actually matter. What matters is when you look at stuff like gold being 10.9 trillion, I think it's roughly at 11 to 12 trillion right now. And that makes sense. $80 billion for the budget makes complete sense in terms of the price. If you look at stock markets, there's roughly 89 trillion. I probably hazard a guess that there's roughly 130, 140 trillion in the stock market today, give or take. Last time I checked, I think it was like 110. And stocks have just shot up in the last couple months. So that's probably a lot higher. So being at 110, then we have the global or the money supply being at 35 trillion, and you see how many more boxes we have. It looks a lot bigger. Then we have the global debt, which looks pretty big. So we have households, we have governments, non-financial corporations, and then financial sector. Then we have the global real estate market, $280 trillion, right? So we're far away from our $5 billion that we were just talking about a couple of minutes ago. Now we're at $280 trillion, and this isn't even updated. This is 2020 data, not even like updated 2020 data, not even end of 2020. So then we have global wealth, 360 trillion, North America, Europe, it goes from there. Then we have the Grand Poobah, the derivatives market, which is, they have on the low end 558 trillion. It is more in line with being 1.8 quadrillion dollars, potentially way higher. So there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of money, and there's especially a lot of money in the derivatives market. Now, some people might ask, hey, what cryptocurrency would actually tackle this derivative market? My answer would most likely be XRP. So that's and there's a lot of reasons that I say that, mainly because the transaction rate. It's best to onboard the legacy financial system, and if you look at what a derivative is and the derivative market, when you look at actually the derivative market being at 1.8 quadrillion dollars, the thing about it is that only represents like a couple $100 trillion worth of assets. Really not a lot. New to your channel, what's going on? How's it going, man? Rocktopus. Welcome to the channel, buddy. Cardano looks weak. I've been thinking about going more game tokens. What's my favorite game token? It's probably going to be between that's hard. There's a lot of stuff going on with games, and I'm really careful on like suggesting gaming tokens because I just don't know which one's going to do well. I have Mana, but that's more of like a VR play, not so much like gaming. There's Sand that Redbeard in chat is in. It's more of like a Minecraft-esque game. And then there's a couple of others. I know Gala Games is doing some stuff, and I think their coin is actually doing pretty well. I'd probably accumulate some engines, stuff like that, and go that route. It's outdated when the global real estate is 300 trillion. Oh man, it's insane. That's probably the U.S. alone. Now I live in Canada, and our housing market has it makes me sick when I think of because I can't afford a home. And it's weird saying that because I'm pretty well off. I'm good enough, right? I'm not hurting in any way. But it's not feasible. It's not feasible for me to buy a house when the average house cost in my city is $650,000. It's just not. It's just not. As a single income person, I still work, right? I don't live off cryptocurrency. Maybe one day in the future, but I don't. Not right now. Yeah, I feel that with Cardano. There's some people that wanna get rid of it, but I think I would hold for a little bit because we're still in line to get that $4 Cardano soon. But definitely, I bought Cardano pretty cheap as well. I bought Cardano. I think my first purchase, I deleted my Blockfolio by accident, so I don't have those transactions. I'd have to actually go to the exchange. But I think one of my first purchases for Cardano was roughly 3 cents. I kicked myself because my friend told me, hey man, I'm looking into this Cardano thing, and I was helping him with crypto, right? I was teaching him all about crypto. I thought I knew everything, and he's coming out to me with hey man, buy this 3-cent token. I'm maybe, bro. I ended up buying one because making a buy at 3 cents, not one token, making a buy at 3 cents. And it was probably one of the better buys I made. I was just compared to where other tokens went, and I'm okay, listen, I'm just not. I'm gonna take away my hubris and stop thinking that I know everything and go for stuff like that. But on that note, if you bought Cardano, how much is it gonna go up compared to now? Now I still think it's gonna go up to $8 by the end of the market cycle. Is there a better ROI? Yeah, there probably is for a little bit more risk, in my opinion. I'm going to hold on to my Cardano mainly because we have the dApps coming out for Cardano. There's going to be infrastructure, DeFi infrastructure coming out. There's going to be a lot of ways to utilize your ADA to make a yield, so it's going to be pretty valuable. Go ahead and drop a like. We are going to start wrapping it up here. I don't think that there's much else to talk about. I don't think I prepared any big news for the day, so there was really just that. So we'll wrap it up if there are no other questions. Obviously, 11 a.m. we do this every single time, every Saturday. House prices being so ridiculous is a major reason why people are getting into crypto. I feel people have no other opportunity in legacy markets. I agree. Unless you invested in Tesla and took a super risk in Tesla, or are trading options, or have mommy and daddy money, unless one of those situations are happening, it's really hard to get your foot in the door for the housing market. So for me too, I say I can't afford a house. I technically can. I technically could liquidate my cryptocurrency, go get a house, have a super cheap mortgage, and whatever. Am I going to, right now, before the bull market is really at the peak, am I going to liquidate my cryptocurrency? And then am I also going to buy a house that could potentially go down? And if it goes down, what if it goes down 10, 15%? And then I'm locked into that house for 30 years, right? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. I'd much rather right now, while everything's very uncertain in my life about what's going to happen in the future, I'd just rent. Just rent, keep investing in cryptocurrency, in equities, and hopefully at some point I better my position. But that's it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the live stream. We'll be trying to do some of these a little bit later. I know I always say that, but I'm gonna try to make some other time to do a late, maybe a nighttime stream, mainly because people across the pond have been asking for a bit of a later time. So are you bullish on PSwap as Polkadot pump? So I'm bullish on PSwap. I don't think it's gonna pump correlated to PokeSwap. So I think there's a lot to be said there. I think PSwap just needs time because we have the burn structure for the PSwap tokens. Eventually, it's gonna burn and go from there. So I think over time the PSwap token is gonna go up. The validator token for Val on PSwap is also gonna go up. So I'd look at that, but I wouldn't look at them as correlated to Polkadot in any way really. Maybe more when they get Polkadot integration to start transferring Polkadot to PSwap, but. It's because it's not easy to purchase. Yeah, and it could be a barrier of entry to get into PokeSwap. Absolutely. You got to factor in the network effect, people getting into it, right? So I hold all of my PokeSwap, haven't sold anything, and I intend to actually buy a little bit more. There's an interesting comment I read that PSwap has over 1 billion coins in this. I mean, there's a lot of tokens that have over 1 billion coins, right? I think Cardano has 31 billion, XRP is 100 billion. So I think the token supply is irrelevant. If you look at the burn structure, over time, more PSwap's going to get burned. So appreciate it, flea market. I really appreciate it, man. Redbeard, housing market is more of a gamble than crypto. I completely agree with that. Yeah, I'm waiting on a big housing crash. I don't know if a big housing crash is going to happen, but a 5 to 10% retracement could potentially happen. I'm hoping for a housing crash too. I really am. I'm sorry. Houses should not be something to live in, which is why I want a house. I understand real estate for an investment, but something to live in, that really needs to be. I don't know. That needs to be regulated. That can't be something like an investment. You shouldn't be allowed to buy houses like that as an investment, and people are stuck renting shit boxes for a huge rate, but you know, it is what it is. All right, everyone, happy Saturday. I will check you guys next week and obviously in the Monday video, but take it easy, everyone. Enjoy the weekend.